I am here today to announce my candidacy for President of the United States.
Today, I proudly announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
I'm running for President of the United States. There's no turning back.
I stand before you today to announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
Today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Presidential campaign announcements have a kind of rhythm. The candidate gets in front of the camera or a podium, as you just saw, outlines their credentials, and announces they're throwing their proverbial hat into the ring. But NBC News has learned Ron DeSantis will not take this route. No, instead, the Florida governor, who has been unofficially campaigning for months, will make his official announcement tomorrow on Twitter Spaces, the site's audio platform. Back with us tonight, Basil Schmeichel, Democratic strategist and former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party, and strategist Shermichael Singleton. He's worked on 3 Republican presidential campaigns and hosts Sirius XM's Urban View. And perhaps he's advising someone now. Shermichael will not tell us.
Just going to throw that out there.
Shermichael, you know, well, in case you want to break news, we are here for it. I'm sure Stephanie Roll would approve. Look, Twitter is not real life. So what is behind this strategy? What's your take on it?
I don't understand it. When I first read this earlier today, I thought to myself, one of the first things you want with an announcement is the image, the backdrop of your candidate on every major newspaper in the country, every local newspaper, specifically in those primary states. If you're Ron DeSantis and you're behind Donald Trump by 30+%, you look at Real Clear Politics average, he's technically tied with President Biden, although Biden has the advantage. Trump is actually 1.4% ahead of President Biden, according to RCP average. So in my thought process, I'm thinking, what in the world are his strategists advising him? This, to me, doesn't make sense. I like Elon Musk, successful business entrepreneur, but when I think about how does this translate to moving voters in Iowa, then New Hampshire, then South Carolina, and the other states to follow, I don't see that connection, Simone.
You know, I think Basil, yes. Basil is with it. I mean, look, I think that Basil, the reality here is seems very online. Shermichael talked about Elon Musk. He is reportedly joining Ron DeSantis for this announcement. But is the Elon Musk constituency really that meaningful in the states Shermichael mentioned? New Hampshire, Iowa, South Carolina. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Elon Musk constituency per se, but I think Ron DeSantis is doing this on Twitter because Donald Trump's not there. He's on another platform, he's got his own sort of social media platform, and he was on another cable network at a town hall. So for Ron DeSantis, this is an opportunity for him to have a platform to himself, at least for this short period of time, to be able to make this announcement. And there's still a lot of, I think, Republican Trumpists that are still on Twitter. He will get some kind of an audience, but I think to Shermichael's point, ultimately, the voters may not really remember this unless there's a big gaffe, and that could very well happen. Maybe something goes wrong with social media and it goes down, and then he's done. So maybe we'll remember it for ways that he didn't intend. But ultimately, as Shermichael said, you got to meet the voters where they are. And he probably should have done something very public, like a town hall or like a big rally to show a sign of strength, as we always say. This seems to be a little too inside baseball, a little too sort of behind the scenes. And I don't know that it resonates. I don't think it'll be memorable at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly still trying to find how to access the Twitter Spaces, if I'm being honest. And I've never been on one before, Shermichael, so I'm going to have to talk to someone about it. Elon Musk and Twitter, they seem to be branding this thing as something that is, a good branding exercise, yeah, sure, not an endorsement. I think Elon Musk has gone through great lengths to communicate to the media that is what is happening. Mm-hmm. What is Ron DeSantis getting from this? There are no pictures.
I don't know. I mean, from Elon Musk's perspective as a business person, I think is absolutely smart. It makes all the sense in the world. You'll probably have a ton of people tuning in. Reporters are going to write about what's said. So I get it for Elon Musk, smart guy in that regard. Again, from Ron DeSantis' perspective, I am trying to figure out, at this point in time, you have to figure out a way to get closer to Donald Trump to potentially beat him. The first debate is in August. It's almost June, Simone. The first votes are going to be cast in the Republican primary in January. So as a strategist, I'm looking at this disadvantage marginally, and I'm trying to figure out every single thing we do must be purposeful, number one, and number two, it must move the needle closer to Trump, not further away. And I don't see that transfer in this instance.
Especially because it is basically June.
Who's going to see it? Who's going to see it?
I am still struggling to find it.
I'm going to help you out.
Let's turn to the debt ceiling, because while 2024 is happening, you've got these debt ceiling talks, and we are less than 10 days as we have this conversation from default. Now, Republicans are publicly questioning the June 1st deadline the Treasury Department has set. Basil, do you think this is a stall tactic or there's some there?
Well, even Janet Yellen has made some indication that maybe she'll be flexible on, she could be flexible on this June date. But I will tell you, I've been hearing from Democrats that are not involved in politics at all, that actually are voicing real concern. And now when it gets to the voter and it's beyond this Beltway conversation and it actually starts to get into the mindset of the actual voter who is now perhaps changing behavior because they're anticipating some default or some deadline not met, that's a problem for both parties, quite frankly. At the end of the day,
I think Basil. See, this is why Ron DeSantis needs to be careful with, I'm serious, with the technology nowadays, things can always drop out. Basil's making a good point here, though, Shermichael, that has reached the voters, this debt ceiling fight. I'm wondering, lots of talk about if the White House has employed the best strategy here.
Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that President Biden said he wasn't negotiating and then wanted to be very clear to say a couple days ago that he's negotiating on the budget, not on the debt ceiling. He insists on a debt ceiling, a clean debt ceiling increase. But Speaker McCarthy has not had to provide a budget. Do you think that the White House maybe should have played a little harder ball when it comes to the budget?
Yeah, look, I think from the president's perspective on this one, Simone, he recognizes that Speaker McCarthy does not have a significant amount of room to maneuver with the Republican base, or caucus, rather. We know this very well. And so I think the Speaker probably has done the best he can or could with the Republicans that are under his leadership. We know it only takes one vote to call his speakership into question. I think Biden's a smart guy. He's been around a long time. He's been through this process a lot. I think he still sees some room potentially for him to maneuver to try to meet the speaker somewhere. I think this is a win-win for the president. I think it's even a win for McCarthy to figure this out, and my hope is that they will before June 1st.
I think we have Basil back. Basil, you will get the last word on this.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
No, I absolutely agree. I think this is ultimately a win for Joe Biden. But again, the voter doesn't want to have to deal with this. The voter doesn't want to have to hear anything more about this. Let's get to the business of the day and have these real policy discussions that Joe Biden's actually pretty good at. But again, this is Republicans taking us to the brink, and something that we're just going to have to work through. And Biden, at the end of the day, going to have to reassure the voter that he's doing what he was elected to do, which is actually bring back good governance.
We will be watching. Basil Schmeichel and Shermichael Singleton. Y'all need to get a podcast. Thank you.